Good morning. It is Wednesday, March 9th, 2022, and coming to you from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington, this is the Best Lamb Sports Show. One of these days I'm going to have to let the whole thing play. I'm just going to have to let the whole song, because I feel like we're not giving it its due time. You only get to hear the first, 8 seconds.
I don't even know where it goes.
It doesn't go anywhere. It kind of just does the same thing.
It's been in that realm for a while.
Here, listen. Hold on.
Oh, it changes.
This one's actually pretty good. It's kind of children. I know, right? It's not the worst one you've heard, right?
Definitely.
With me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
I didn't even introduce myself. So,
But I'm here
the Parker's here, and he's what's most important. So,
to get the people going.
his opinion is way more important than mine. That's all I'm going to say. I'm your host, David Lamb. So there you go. We're streaming on YouTube. We're on Twitter at Lamb Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com. And please check out our webpage. You can find links to the past shows and current trivia question on www.lambsports.com. So the Portland Timbers tied again. The Blazers are still falling, only harder and faster. Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are making big news in the NFL. We had a combine in Indianapolis. Might be the last one.
Might be the last one. They're talking about moving it.
Yeah. We got all that. Of course, we got the trivia question, which is awesome. Everybody knows the trivia question. Whole bunch more other NFL news, too. I mean, actually, more NFL news than I was kind of planning on. And we have Major League Baseball news. So, hold on to your hat for the Major League Baseball news. We're going to do this in the same format we did last week, so I'm testing this out just to see if it's any good. But we're going to start with the trivia question before we do anything.
Right on.
Yeah, but it gives the whole time to answer it, to come up with the answer. Here's your trivia question. Are you ready? Steven,
Yep.
I can't even. Let me start over. The Best Lamb Sports Show trivia question brought to you by Stevens Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. Which three teams are tied for the worst record ever by an NCAA tournament qualifying team? All right, NCAA basketball tournament qualifying team. So these three teams have the worst ever season record and still got into the NCAA tournament. If you can name any of them, I will be impressed. And or what year would be fine. Okay. But it's a tough one because you don't normally think of the bad teams.
Right. Yeah, you definitely don't.
And
can I get a hint? Are any of them from Power 5 conferences?
I will give you 2 hints.
Okay.
Are you ready? 2 hints.
Yeah.
None of them won a game in the NCAA tournament. That's a bad hint because you knew there were 16 seeds anyway.
Probably, yeah.
The second hint is it was back-to-back-to-back years, consecutive years. So all three of these teams did it. One team did it 1 year, one team did it the next year, one team did it the next year. So it was back-to-back-to-back seasons. That's the only hint you're getting. Sorry. And okay, I'll give you that one. No, they're not from a Power 5 conference.
Sorry, so you got to dig deep.
So you got to get in there. Got to get your elbows.
You got to remember who those other conferences are. Is it Missouri Valley? Is it whatever conference Gonzaga's in?
Yeah, you got to get your hands dirty on this one.
Okay.
So that's just our thing. So the first part of the show is brought to you by The Range. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting destination. If you haven't checked them out, go to therangellc.com and you'll find all of the training, membership, and VIP information and opportunities. Check out their calendar under events, and you can find the complete schedule for the month. You can enroll for most of the events and training online with a few simple clicks. They're open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 7, Sunday 11 to 5. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. The phone number, 509-571-1449. Make sure you mention the Best Lamb Sports Show. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So we're going to start with Portland Timbers because they did tie again. They've played 2 games and they've tied them both. They tied LAFC 1-1 on Sunday for the second tie in as many games. Yimi Chara is making bicycle kicks look as easy as riding a bicycle. He scored his second of the season to give Portland a 1-0 lead. Timbers defender Claudio Bravo was shown his second yellow card of the match in the 62nd minute, so Portland was playing a man down for the final 28 minutes. LAFC finally took advantage in the 3rd minute of second half stoppage time, so that's the 93rd minute of the game. Mamadou Fall scored on an easy redirect goal off a cross by Brian Rodriguez and tied the match at 1. Timbers play the red-hot Austin FC on Saturday. Austin's blown out 2 opponents already at Providence Park on Saturday. So here's our question. This is going to lead us to our first discussion. Do you like having a tie in sports in general?
Not really. I like having a winner. I feel like the crowds like having a winner. I feel like it's nice to kind of gain a little. It's more excitement when you know it's win or lose. It's more excitement, but when you know it can end in a tie, especially if you're on the road, you kind of start hoping for that.
Right.
The game's 1-1 in the 93rd minute. You're like, well, this ends in a tie. We get a point.
Right. A road point is always good.
It's like, hey, that's cool. And then but that's a weird attitude to have. Like, I'm all right if it just ends now.
Right.
Without any real resolution, but because we get a point. If you didn't get a point from it, then people would be in much more of an uproar about it. People would be like, you got to change this. But you get something from it if you tie. So That's why people don't mind. I don't mind overall. I wish it would be, decided, but you can just go to. There's a lot of things you could do, but I just wish it would be decided. All sports have. No, wait, no, they don't all have ties, right?
No. So So here's the stats I pulled up. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
Okay. So soccer is the only one that doesn't definitively have a tiebreaker until you reach the playoff round.
Until you reach the playoff.
Right. So
Which means they have a format that exists where there are no ties.
Correct.
They just don't use it until the playoffs.
They don't use it in the regular season. They only use it in the playoffs. Which is interesting. The NHL used to be that same way. And then the NHL said, no, we want a winner and a loser. So if it's tied after we play overtime, which is sudden death, then we're going to go to a shootout. Which makes sense. Because the NHL was the exact same way as soccer. They used to have ties, and then in playoffs they had overtimes till somebody won. So the NHL used to be that way, but they're not anymore. Major League Baseball has extra innings, obviously. The NFL has a weird and super complicated overtime rule that can still end in a tie. So the NFL's right there with soccer in that it can end in a tie. And then the NBA obviously has overtime, and they play until someone wins.
Yeah.
So here's your numbers. Are you ready? Last year, 11.91% of all major league sporting events in the United States were tied at the end of regulation. So that's 1 in 8 games, give or take.
A lot of free sports.
A lot of you saw a lot of free football, basketball, whatever. And the leader in that was soccer. 27% of their games were tied at the end of regulation. And then the NHL was second, 21.76. Now you would expect that because those sports have lower scoring totals.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're averaging 2 scores a game, then the odds are that's better that it's going to get tied. If you're scoring like the NBA 120 points, well, that's odds are it's probably not going to be tied. So MLS, NHL, and then Major League Baseball at 8.89% went into extra innings. So 216 extra inning games last year. Then the NFL, 7.76. There was only 21 overtime games in the NFL. This is 2021 season, by the way. So, yeah, there were only 21 games in the NFL that went, and then one of them ended in a tie. There's been like one tie every year for the last however long. And then the lowest is the NBA. So only 5.19% of those games went into overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, which you'd expect because of the higher scoring. So, but anyway, it's interesting. I think soccer needs to get rid of the tie. I think it would be more exciting for fans to have winners, losers every game.
Winners, losers every game.
Every game has a winner and a loser. I mean, isn't that what you're always taught? Yeah, but except in soccer, in which case.
Except in soccer, but
right.
Except in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
If you do it during the playoffs, why not just do it all year?
Why not just do it all year? And the NFL needs to fix theirs so it doesn't end in a tie.
So
it
doesn't end in a tie.
Stupidity of we're going to have overtime to decide a winner unless there is none. It's dumb.
Yeah, well, but I mean that's how they all have done it, right? Any team that hasn't developed a shootout system has given you extra time and then been like, well, okay, we're still good.
And and I don't like the fact that not only can it, let's say it's 0-0 and it's tie. Okay, we're going to overtime, and you can both score in overtime and still be tied.
Right.
I don't like that at all. I think that's bad. I think that should either be sudden death like it was before. The new way is stupid. I think the old way was better, even though it was dumb. So they're kind of both dumb, but fix it and make it right. I know you want to give both teams a possession. I get that, but find a way to do it so that it isn't still going to end in a tie. If each team kicks a field goal in overtime, we're still tied, and it ends in a tie. Or if nobody's
you just keep playing.
Just keep playing. That's right.
Just keep playing. Who gives a crap if it's midnight and you're because you chose to start your game at for the NFL, because you chose to start your game at 7:30 for primetime viewers,
Right.
and now you're in 4 overtime and it's midnight. I don't care.
Right.
I do not care. I do not care about the athlete's well-being in 4 overtime. I want to see a resolution to this game.
Right. How thrilling was was it Thanksgiving Day or was the day after Thanksgiving? The LSU Texas A&M game that was 72-70.
Oh yeah, it was like 4 or 5 overtime or 7 overtimes.
Yeah,
like that.
Like 7 overtime. How thrilling was that?
Cool.
That was exciting. It was,
and even when you didn't care, you were kind of invested in watching. You're like, what's
right.
going on here?
Yeah, I didn't even care who won that game. I was just excited to watch two teams who couldn't stop each other.
And I think that went till like 10 o'clock at night, and they started early.
Eastern.
They're on
it was Eastern. Yeah, it was late. But anyway, I liked that. And then the NCAA changed their rules. Oh, well, we don't want them going that long, so now we're just going to have 2-point conversions. That's dumb. Come on, guys, that's dumb.
I kind of like the 2-point conversions. Start taking the kickers out of it. Just
I
think you gotta go for 2.
I think the kickers ought to be involved in it. I think you ought to just
either
make them
go
kick.
all the way or don't.
Yeah, that's true.
Go just kickers in overtime.
Just kickers. That's right.
All right. Well, I've always been a big fan of you want to prove it. Let's get those guys out here. Let's do the 5 yards, 10 yards, 15, 20. Whoever misses first.
Right. It's a shootout. I think you ought to have all your players line up and start kicking. Anyway.
And then if you make it to the 50. Then you start over again with your punters.
With your punters.
Trying to kick field goals.
And then the long snapper.
Actually, it doesn't have to be a punter. You can send out whoever the hell you want. As long as you think they can kick a 50-yard field goal.
Ocho Cinco.
Great. That's right.
Anyway.
We know he can hit from at least 25.
All right, let's talk about the NBA and the Portland Trailblazers. So, since beating the Memphis Grizzlies on February 16th, the Blazers have lost 5 straight. But it's not just the losing; it's the way they're losing. Portland has been outscored by an average of 31.2 points per loss. The average score is 127-96. So I'm guessing that the tank is on for the rest of the season. We kind of knew that was coming anyway, but this looks really, really bad. They're not even near competitive.
They're not starting everyone.
Right.
Like they're doing a bunch of they're trying really hard, and it's really obvious.
Yeah. So they're now 25-39 on the season. They're only 2 games out of the playoff because the Lakers are trying to help them get in.
Can't win.
Right? The Lakers continue to struggle. They're just 2-8 in their last 10. They're falling pretty hard. They were 21-20 at the halfway point. The Lakers were, and they're just 7-16 since then. Also plummeting, or were plummeting. They won last night. Are the Golden State Warriors? They've had
a rough go.
3-9 in their last 12. And the only teams they had beaten before last night were the Blazers and Lakers in that stretch. But Draymond Green is targeting a return March 14th. That's going to help them out quite a bit. So I don't know. I mean, Draymond is a big factor on that team. He really is. So I'm not a big fan of his, but I know he's a good player. So
it's crazy that the Lakers are going to get into the playoffs because the Blazers are tanking, the Pelicans are tanking. And so the Lakers are still going to end up in the playoffs.
Maybe. Yeah, they needed the Spurs, the Blazers, and the Pelicans to really muck it up.
Spurs, I don't think, are ever tanking.
Well, the Spurs beat the Lakers just a couple days ago, so I don't know. I don't know what's happening, but
the Pelicans are only a game back off the Lakers, so
yeah, it's interesting, and it's going to be interesting down to the end. But Miami has created a little separation. They're 3 games up, in the East now.
Yeah.
So I feel like we were talking about how the East was, up for grabs. Well, it's 2 through 6 right now that's up for grabs. Those teams are separated by 2.5 games, but Miami's built a 3-game lead because they're 8-2 in their last 10. Philadelphia, since James Harden came over, they look good too.
Yeah, it's early. It's so
it
weird
is.
because everyone like they played one game without him.
Yeah.
In this stretch, and I also don't know why he didn't play, but they played one game without him and they got spanked
Right.
in the one game. It's like, are you just that bad without
Yeah.
this piece on your team? I don't know. It's just crazy, but we'll see. They'll have time to cool off. They have this big Brooklyn game, which is what all this has been hyping leading into.
Yeah.
And then I think they'll cool off. Also, it's the 76ers. We've seen it every single year for the past 6 years.
It's true.
They get really good. People are like, oh man, they're going to do it. They're 40 something win team, 50 win team. And then they get to the playoffs. And, if it's not LeBron doing it, it's Kawhi doing it, or it's Jimmy Butler doing it, or
Right.
it's Giannis doing it. Somebody's taking them out.
And now the Memphis Grizzlies, by the way, are in second place in the West, ahead of Golden State.
Good for them.
Yeah, John Morant is unbelievable.
I don't think anybody can be mad about the Memphis Grizzlies being good.
Not really. There's nobody on that team to dislike. I mean, there probably are if you're an opponent that plays them all the time, if you're in that division. But I don't really care, I guess, enough about them personally. You know what I mean? So I see them as good basketball players. It's a good basketball team. But Phoenix is it just still Phoenix and everyone else? Is that what we're dealing with?
Like in the West?
In terms on the whole NBA, is it pretty much just Phoenix?
No, it's Phoenix and Milwaukee and everyone else.
Milwaukee is tied for second in
That
the
doesn't
East,
matter.
but had to win 5 straight games to get there.
Matter. They're
mean,
still
they're
a
good.
formidable team, and we all know it's all about getting to the playoffs, and then you can really do something.
They'd be 11 and a half games behind the Suns right now if they were in the West. Just FYI. That's why I say that. I mean, Phoenix is clearly the best team in the league right now. You know what? And that begs the question: what did they do against Milwaukee? Right? Have they played each other? They beat the Bucks.
I think they beat them earlier this year. Yeah.
131-107.
Last year the Bucks were a 3 seed with 46 wins.
Right.
Out of the East, and the Suns were a 2 seed with 51 wins. So they had 5 wins up on the Bucks last year, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
And they just lost to Milwaukee 132-122. So they split. Phoenix and Milwaukee have split 2 games.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so. I'm gonna say it's Phoenix, Milwaukee, and everybody else.
Okay. You think Milwaukee's gonna they may not finish the regular season as the Eastern Conference champions, but they
didn't do it last year, so it didn't matter.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see, won't we?
Being fair, last year they were a slipped foot away from KD's big toe away from not being in the playoffs. But also by that same token, the Suns were, a significant injury to Anthony Davis away from not being in the playoffs. So It's just it is what it is. But yeah, I would say it's those two and everyone else.
All right. Okay, fair enough. I think that's probably pretty good. I'm looking at the West and seeing that the Clippers have created some separation between themselves and the Lakers too. They've gone 7-3 in their last 10. So those teams in the West that are 6, 7, 8 have been hot. 5, 6, 7, 8 all been hot. But then there's the Lakers, the Pelicans, the Blazers, those other teams. Portland's
real bad ones.
Portland's headed the right direction if they're trying to get a draft pick.
They're acting like they want one.
Yeah, they're definitely. I don't think they can get below Houston, Orlando, Detroit range, but maybe not even Oklahoma City. But they could definitely be in the 5th range. And
get Portland though, we decided to tank and we're gonna get penalized or something like that.
Well, they'll get an extra ping pong ball in the thing, and then they'll draft some center you've never heard of who breaks his leg in training camp. That's what happens. That's a Blazer thing. So anyway, there's
wait, hold on. No, they'll draft some center who will give you 4 or 5 of the most amazing years and make you think, man, that chip is right around the corner, and then he'll start having knee injuries. Then he'll start having knee problems.
I haven't seen a center give him 4 or 5 years in a long time, so I just want to let you know. So Bill Walton gave him 2.
Robin Lopez gave him like 5 or 6.
Oh yeah, because he's an amazing center.
He was part of that team that was competing. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying he's not like the people they drafted who we thought were going to be fantastic. Greg Oden.
But let's be real. How many amazing centers
are
there in the league?
Well, there aren't not anymore. There aren't any.
Yeah, center's one of those positions that's it's hard. You have your You have your Joker and
But
Embiid, DeAndre Ayton, and
that's why I say
then you kind of run out.
that's why I say Portland will do something stupid like draft a center, something you
Yeah.
don't need anyway. So
Well, they screwed up. They needed to try and get Evan Mobley last year
yeah,
because Evan Mobley is a center who is fantastic.
yeah. So
But whatever.
that's all you can say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta take a deep breath and go.
It's tank season. Just you be ready that there's not gonna be much news. Every once in a while they're gonna spike up and win a game. And that's it.
Right. So let's move to the NCAA because that was kind of exciting. So the Ducks pretty much ruined their opportunity to get in the NCAA tournament. Lost
Without having to win the tournament. Yeah.
lost 5 of their last 6 games. Find themselves as the 5 seed in the Pac-12 tournament today. The good news is they get to play Oregon State today at 2:30 down there in Las Vegas. So that's a win probably, considering how bad Oregon State is.
Yeah.
But don't take anything for granted. But anyway, they would likely need to win the conference tournament to get in the NCAA tournament. And that would involve wins over Oregon State. And if everybody wins, holds seed, Oregon State, Colorado, Arizona, and UCLA. That's what they'd have to do. Probably not going to happen. I'm not saying it can't. They can. They've obviously beaten UCLA twice. They played Arizona tough the one time they played. Anyway, we'll see. But I don't.
Unlikely.
I'm not holding out much hope. This is going to be a highly seeded NIT team.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Really, really good NIT team. But Will Richardson's out for.
Yeah.
They're saying the tournament.
Yeah, that's hurtful.
It's maybe because I thought that Will Richardson was the problem.
Oh.
I thought that Will Richardson's inability to be the guy when it matters, it was an issue. And if he's not the guy, then who's going to be? But also, if he's not the guy, do we have anybody better off the bench? So, I'm going to assume that I like not Joe. I keep wanting to call him Joseph Young, but
Joe Young?
The other young brother. I keep thinking I like him better. He's a little more aggressive. He's a little more attacking him, but they wouldn't give him they weren't giving him the time, and Will Richardson was struggling to rein in the Ducks down the stretch. He was making bad passes, committing turnovers. He had more turnovers in the final 2 minutes of games than most players in the league. So
yeah, it's Jacob Young.
Jacob Young.
Yeah.
The other Jay Young.
Yeah.
Don't do this, parents. Don't name your kids all
Everybody
the same
has a
letter
J.
with a theme, especially when it's a bunch of if it's a boy and a girl, you can probably work that out one way or another. But when it's 2 boys or 3 boys and you name them all Jay this, Jay that.
James, Jacob, Joseph.
That's ridiculous.
Jameson.
I guess it's not that
Jackson.
hard. I should just try a little harder.
I
could also just try a little harder to know his name.
I don't know, man.
Probably he looks like Joseph Young too.
Right? I mean, yeah, that's true.
He's not shoot like him though.
So last night, so all the major conferences are in conference tournament mode starting today for sure, if they weren't already, because most of them started yesterday. But last night, 6 teams punched their tickets. That's Delaware from the Colonial Athletic Association. Does anybody care? Not really. Wright State from the Horizon. Bryant from the Northeast, and that's their first ever NCAA tournament trip for Bryant, and that involved a fight in the stands. I don't know, fans getting rowdy. It's just like soccer now.
It'd be like that.
And then South Dakota State won the Summit, and for the second time in about 7 years, ESPN put up San Diego State instead of South Dakota State. When they were referring to them, just FYI. So well done, ESPN. Gonzaga won the West Coast Conference last night. I know you have some strong feelings about Gonzaga.
Oh yeah.
St. Mary's was in that game until about 2 minutes left.
Until they weren't.
Yeah. So, and then Jacksonville State, who gets in from the Atlantic Sun, and that's one of those stories that I'm unthrilled. I just said that. Unthrilled.
Yeah,
that's a new word. I'm not so thrilled about is that Jacksonville State was the regular season champion of the Atlantic Sun. They didn't even make it to the tournament championship game. Bellarmine played in the tournament championship game against Jacksonville University. Not Jacksonville State, but Jacksonville. 2 different teams. Anyway.
Parents, quit naming your kids Jacksonville and Jacksonville State.
Florida. looking at you. So the Bellarmine wins, but they're ineligible for NCAA tournament because they're transitioning from Division 2 to Division 1. Don't ask me why that's a thing. I don't know, but that it is apparently, and so they can't play in the NCAA tournament. And so rather than Jacksonville, who was in the who was in the conference tournament championship game and lost, rather than them going, it reverts to the conference champion regular season, and that's Jacksonville State, who lost to Bellarmine
Right.
earlier in the tournament. Or I don't understand that. I think if you have two teams playing for the title and the winner goes to the tournament, then the loser, if the other team is ineligible, the loser should go to the tournament, right? That only makes sense to me. But that's not how it works, apparently. So
Did they just know that Bellarmine was that good of a team? I mean, not really. No, they didn't.
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they were the second best team in the conference, but and it was by a pretty big margin too.
Yeah.
At least on the top side of that. No. Well, no, I guess they're the second best team in Group A. So apparently the ASUN is separated into Group A and Group B.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Group B looks fierce.
Not divisions.
Not divisions.
We're groups. I don't know anything about it. All I know is that it's dumb to me. Today, the Patriot League will crown its champion. I think it's the only one that gets crowned today, the Patriot League. I know everyone's excited about the Patriot League and Bucknell, because right. So far, automatic bids. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's been 11 teams that are automatically in. That's all it's currently officially in the NCAA tournament. There's only 11 teams in. So there's still 57 teams left to get spots. Anyway, so just throwing that out there. Pac-12 tournament championship will be on Saturday, the 12th. So
it's a lot to go.
It is. There's a lot of stuff to go. Most of the big conferences, SEC, Big Ten, will have their championship game on Sunday. Where's the ACC? They play on Saturday too. ACC championships on Saturday too. Interesting.
Huh.
Right there with the Big Sky Conference, huh? Yeah, rubbing elbows with the Montana States of the world. Anyway, so there's that. I don't know. I don't have a clear-cut team that'll tell you that if I was going to pick right now who would win the NCAA tournament. I might put money on Arizona. I would wait till the Pac-12 tournament's over and figure that out. That's a really good basketball team. I don't think Gonzaga's that team.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think they're. I would never rule out the ESPN storyline of Duke.
Yeah, because it's what's his name's last year. Yeah,
Coach K's last year.
Yeah.
He goes out on top. Blah
Right.
blah blah. Maybe we blow the whistle a few times to make sure that he at least gets to the Final Four.
Right.
So, and they're still a good team. So it's not like they don't have talent or anything like that. I just, I could see something going down like that. But Baylor's still a really good basketball team.
Right. Yeah. No, I wouldn't.
Where the hell did they come from?
Baylor?
Like 3 years ago, we were not
Texas.
talking about Baylor basketball at all. And then all of a sudden, it's just, they're really good.
Right.
It came out of nowhere.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm aware they come from Texas.
Oh, yeah, I know you are. I'm just giving you a hard time. So I guess that's what I do. Okay, let's move. Let's move on. If you had to pick a team right now for to win the title, who would it be?
For the NCAA?
Yeah.
Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's who I would pick too. And not just trying to be a Pac-12 homer, but I think that's a really good basketball team.
Well, I think it's another one of those teams that paid a lot of people to be there. So
well, absolutely. And speaking of that, we're going to talk about LSU in a minute. So which is exciting. We should probably talk about them now, since it's part of this whole thing. But LSU was just handed. Where is it? I had the story here. LSU just got word of violations, basketball and football. Yeah, so we don't know how big it is, but their coach, the LSU head coach, God, what is his name? Wade?
Yeah, Will Wade.
Will Wade, that's it. Yeah, he has been in trouble before for maybe paying players. But yeah, this is tied to that investigation, the same investigation that sent all the other schools down. But yeah, he may have offered impermissible payments to a lot of players. So anyway,
what's new? Those include a booster paying the father of a player $180,000 for a no-show job and
Yeah.
former star Odell Beckham Jr. paying LSU players cash on the field immediately
Cash.
after the Tigers won.
Right.
Yeah, Odell. Oh gosh, Odell. I don't dislike Odell, but I hope he ruined that program because I dislike LSU.
Right.
Yeah, I could not believe he did that. Walking around the field, slapping wads of $100 bills in people's hands.
I mean,
If you got it, you got it.
yeah. It's a name, image, and likeness deal now, right here on the field. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, long story short, there's stuff coming at LSU's way, and I think there's a lot of teams in the NCAA basketball that have done that have paid a few players to come and gotten better that way, and I'm sure every team does it to some extent, not necessarily pay them, but offers them whatever to come. So I think that's a thing. Anyway, let's move on. Because we're going to fill out the brackets next week.
Yeah.
On the show.
Yeah,
Maybe not on the show, but I'll have a bracket filled out before the show starts, and we'll go over who we think's going to do what and why your bracket is wrong. That's what we're going to tell you. Yeah, so we're going to tell you next week. That's our segment next week. NCAA tournament and why your bracket is wrong.
Why our bracket is wrong.
Well, it probably is. I don't know. So that's a real thing. Let's talk about second half of the show. Brought to you by Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Be sure to tune into BossKittyLive.com for knit-alongs, games, fun, and exclusive sales. Go on the BossKittyShop.com. Go on the Boss Kitty Shop. That's good grammar right there. Go on to.
You're struggling today.
I am really struggling. It's early. I haven't had enough coffee. Go on to BossKittyShop.com and get your kitty glitter yarn. It's soft, sparkly, and out of this world. Looking for a gift? Get them a Boss Kitty Shop virtual gift card and let them pick it out themselves. That's Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. So, second half of the show, we're going to talk about some important NFL news. I don't know if it's that important, but it may be life altering if you're a Denver Bronco fan, and that is that they have agreed to terms with the Seahawks to acquire Russell Wilson. How big a news is that right now without having played a down for Denver?
It's huge for Denver. Because your argument for the last few years is that they've had a fantastic defense. They've had a ton of offensive pieces in and out the door, but right now they've got Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, and they just got rid of Hamilton, but they've got Tim Patrick. And you're looking at the team going, all right, they got a lot, and they just drafted Javonte Williams, who has the most yards after contact in the league. And they had Noah Fant. They had to get rid of him in this deal, but Noah Fant had some injury issues. But they had a backup tight end who was looking really, really good last year. And so all of a sudden, but they just kept having quarterback issues. If it was Teddy Bridgewater was healthy, it was okay, but they were not great. And then he kept getting hurt, and then Drew Lock stepping in, and Drew Lock just sucks. So, good luck in Seattle, bud.
Yeah.
But it's huge because it does. It's the thing that they've been missing, and it's happening so early in the off season that it's going to give you plenty of time to develop an offensive scheme for him with a new coach.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Since Peyton Manning in 2014, right? The Broncos have had 12 starting quarterbacks.
Sounds right.
In about 8 years. So obviously not a great situation. And only one of those guys played an entire season, and that was Case Keenum in 2018.
How many of those guys have played less than 5 games
in the season?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Paxton Lynch, Brock Osweiler, Drew Lock, Brandon Allen, Brett Rippon, Jeff Driscoll, Philip Lindsay. Who's getting asterisk?
Okay, I see where the 12 is coming from now.
Right.
In my head, I'm going, we've not had 12 quarterbacks. And it's like, we had a game where someone was hurt, so Rippon played.
Right.
Oh, well, we had a game where Rippon and Locke were hurt, so Driscoll played. And it's like, okay, now I see where the 12 is coming from. Really, we've had like 7 or 8 quarterbacks, like starters. We have a starter every year. Yeah.
There's like 6, but that's 6 in 8 years. That's a lot.
Oh, that's a ton.
That's a ton.
That's what you don't want. But they've quietly managed to build the rest of the team up while the quarterback position has just failed. Unfortunately, it cost us Von Miller in the meantime.
And by the way, it was Brock Osweiler that I was trying to think of the other day, who looks like Robert Pattinson.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Mm.
Except for if Robert Pattinson was 7 feet tall.
Right. I mean, yeah. Other than that, same thing.
You did say it was a super tall quarterback.
I
did not
did.
put
I
that
did.
together.
I just couldn't remember who it was. I couldn't remember at the time. It was Brock Osweiler. Anyway, so Russell Wilson and 1 4th-round draft pick for Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, Drew Lock, 2 first-round draft picks, 1 this year, 1 next year, 2 second-round draft picks, 1 this year, 1 next year, and a 5th-round draft pick this year. And I don't understand why the 4th and the 5th-round picks were necessary. We couldn't just leave those out.
Yeah,
But whatever. Hey, I'll give you a 4th for the 5th. That'll make all the difference. Okay. And if that's what sent him over the top, it wasn't. I mean, that's probably what Seattle said. No, we're going to need that 5th-round draft pick. Sorry. So anyway, Seattle stockpiling some stuff, and then so hot on the heels of this comes the news that they're releasing Bobby Wagner. So I don't know. That's clearly a rebuilding sign. Then they're not thinking about winning now.
Yeah.
Which would lead me to believe Seattle's going to draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you wouldn't pay a free agent to come, I wouldn't think, if you're after you get rid of your best defensive player and your best offensive player in the same week.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say that they're not going to try and get a free agency quarterback, or they're not going to try and trade for a quarterback.
Oh, that's true. They could. But
yeah, Kyler Murray's under contract, and if that doesn't go well, they could try and snag him out of there. Jimmy G's reportedly looking elsewhere. So there's a lot of options out there for them to try and grab somebody. Marcus Mariota's still sitting on the bench behind Derek Carr.
Right.
He needs a home if he wants one. So I don't know. I don't necessarily think this means they're drafting a quarterback. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I kind of feel like they have to, because they've sent themselves into rebuilding mode, as opposed to win now. To me, you've just given up now. I mean, if you'd kept Bobby Wagner and said, hey, we're going to keep our defense intact, hopefully it'll help us stay in contention, we're going to go try and sign a guy that can fill the void, I'm okay with it. But once you get rid of your best defensive player and your best offensive player in the same week, I think you full on said, we're not going to compete this year. It's not going to happen. We will cut money to get under the cap, and we're going to just try and rebuild. And that's I think what they're doing. I'm not 100% certain, but I feel like that's true. Mariota's out there. You're absolutely right. Marcus Mariota is out there at age 28, right? And he's only taken like 2 hits over the course of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So
one of which sent him into an injury.
Oh, it's true. It's true.
Not exactly sturdy.
But he's out. But he's out there.
Yes.
You know, the Bills had Mitch Trubisky. He's still out there.
Yeah,
Sorry, Mitchell.
I don't think you want him.
Mitchell.
I don't think you want that guy.
You can't call him Mitch anymore. It's Mitchell. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, there's that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know if that's something you want. But there aren't that many great quarterbacks out there to go get. Now that,
and of course, there's the whole Deshaun Watson thing.
Which case is going to be heard, I guess, by a jury this week or later this week. So I don't know. We don't know the outcome of any of that stuff. So I guess we have to wait and figure out what's going on there. But this is also news because Aaron Rodgers has reportedly decided to stay in Green Bay, although we don't know any specifics and he hasn't signed a contract. But the contract is supposed to be so huge that, your mind will explode.
Yeah.
Which just means that everyone else gets paid more. So it's not great for anybody other than Aaron Rodgers and other quarterbacks.
Right.
But anyway, so if he stays, and the reason he stayed is that the Packers decided they were going to keep Devontae Adams. So that was a condition of his that said, hey, I'll stay, but you have to keep him because otherwise I don't have anybody else to throw to. I don't think he would have bolted had they gotten rid of Adams and signed another large name wide receiver, but are there any to go get?
Not really.
Yeah, so they had
not
to.
in free agent. Everyone tends to lock up their really good players.
And I don't think you have many other receivers that are good or better than Devontae Adams. I can't think of many that would be a better player, you know what I mean, that you could go get.
To be determined. So if it was Devontae or we're not going to know if it was Devontae or if it was Aaron Rodgers.
It's true. It's true.
And we're not going to get that chance to know that.
If you don't separate
DeAndre Hopkins
Yeah.
It sounds obvious, but you have to have a good quarterback, right? Because when DeAndre Hopkins didn't have a good quarterback at the Texans,
Right.
didn't he wasn't putting up numbers. It wasn't happening. He
Right.
just couldn't. It's impossible.
Right.
So I think that Aaron Rodgers was the important part of
Right.
of that group. And yeah, but he does like him though.
And
He wants him to stay around.
I've been meaning to ask you this. If you look at this picture of Aaron Rodgers, with that helmet, that's the way his helmets always look. Is there extra padding under there? Is that what he wears? Is like a inflated balloon helmet that has extra cushion? Is that
So yeah, there's like a crown inside of it that's well, his is probably molded, but so his is probably taken and they scan his whole head and they build this little custom mold that goes inside of it. And it's like this little like hand almost that wraps around the top of your head, and then the ear pads they usually come in and come out.
Gotcha.
But I don't get how he's allowed to rock the one strap. I've never understood that.
Yeah.
He's just got one strap on his helmet, and his helmet is so close to being out of date. Like everyone was clowning Antonio Brown for his, I want to use my same helmet. I want to use my same helmet. Aaron Rodgers' helmet, technically speaking, like technologically speaking, is so far less advanced than anything anybody else is wearing.
Yeah.
Like it's insane that he's allowed to wear that helmet, but he also doesn't take hits. We protect the quarterback, that sort of thing.
It's true. Yeah, he always looks like, I always see him playing. I see him look like this, and it looks like his head is 6 sizes too big. I know it's not. I know it's just the helmet, but his looks more out of whack than anybody else's, just because of the style.
I think it's an old. It's definitely a shut, but I think it's an old Air XP Q11, which has this like little stabilization thing inside. But
yeah, the RXP Q11. Yeah,
the XP Q11. You had it right. You just chose to throw an R
I
in
didn't.
there.
I thought that's what you said. I was trying to repeat it. I don't know.
It was the Air XP.
Air. Oh, it was Air, not the R. I thought you said R, but you said Air. I gotcha.
Air XP, but it's got like these little like
butchered
the ear pads are like these little like cones that are essentially collapsible that break down. But yeah, it's just a really old helmet, and I have no clue how it gets away with wearing it.
I don't know. Anyway, I thought it was the question that I needed to ask because I see it and I was just like, I know a guy who knows something about equipment. I better ask him.
Yeah.
So anyway, so there's that. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers is staying, but we don't know any of the details yet. But we'll let you know how it'll affect the price of your coffee, but when we find out the details. Tampa Bay Buccaneers put a franchise tag on Chris Godwin. He's set to make a little over $19 million next season. He suffered a torn ACL in Week 15 this year against New Orleans. Great wide receiver. He still led the team in receiving yards and I think touchdowns, despite being out. But I don't know. That's probably a good move. Although, who's going to throw him the ball? I don't know. So, yeah. I don't know that he's going to have a quarterback. We don't know who the quarterback is going to be in Tampa Bay. We don't even know if it won't be Tom Brady yet. Although, I'm still telling you that I think Tom Brady is done in Tampa, but he will want to play somewhere
next year.
Oh, you think he's going to take a year off?
No, I
next
think
year.
he's taking a year off. Yeah, I think he's taking a year off. Well, all these moves are being made right now that are going to chew up space.
Sure.
He doesn't have that kind of time. If he wants to make this decision, he has to do it before the draft. Because teams are going to draft their future.
Probably.
Also, Tampa Bay has already said that they will not allow him to play for another team.
Right.
So, yes, if he takes a year off or whatever, I don't know, maybe they'll change their mind after they get their future quarterback or something like that. But right now, if he comes back, they're not going to let him go.
Yeah, well.
At least that's what they're saying.
Well, then if you wanted to be petty about it, I mean, I'm just saying I would let him go. If he wants to go, let him go.
Hell no.
Because listen, here's the reason why. Otherwise, if you get into some kind of dispute about it, he could decide he wants to come back if he's still under contract, right? He could decide he wants to come back and just eat up your cap space and not play. Oh, I'm hurt. My leg hurts. My ankle hurts.
Sure.
Just saying. And then you have to get rid of him like Antonio Brown.
Sure.
And then he's free to play somewhere else. So there you go.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I wouldn't do it because wherever he's at is a threat to your team's ability to succeed.
Sure, but you got him. You kind of got him. Let's admit, you kind of were lucky to have him to begin with.
That doesn't matter.
And you got yourself a title. So Yeah.
So they owe him something. So they're
No,
like, oh yeah, we should let him
if
move
he wants
along.
to move somewhere else, then let him, he's obviously not going to be happy. If he's not going to be happy there, why would you want a quarterback that's unhappy? Why would you want that?
Well, you don't. You want him to be retired like he said he was going to.
Got it. I
Yeah.
understood that, but I'm just saying, if he decides to come back, you're going to say, okay, you can come back and play for us. But if he
Yeah.
doesn't want to play for you, then why are you going to make it difficult on him? I mean, I don't understand the thought process of. I get it. What you're saying is that if he goes and plays for New Orleans, he's a threat to your team. You're absolutely right.
So here's the problem. If he says, fine, you can trade me,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. But he has a no trade clause. He will want to be released
Sure.
to go where he wants
To go where he
go.
wants to go, right?
Right. I don't want that. I want something for you. You're a very valuable
True.
piece. A team will give me a couple first rounders for you. So you want to play, but you don't want to play here, that's fine. I'm going to pick where you go because I'm going to pick the place that's going to give me the most for it. I'm going to pick the place that gives me Russell Wilson in exchange for you, or gives me, Kyler Murray in exchange for you, or gives me whatever. I'm going to pick it. You should not let him, Tom Brady, walk for nothing.
Okay.
That would be an absolute waste.
Okay.
And so that way you guys all get something. He gets to come back and play. He gets to go somewhere new. He doesn't have a choice in it, though. You get to get a little bit out of it. It's an unfortunate circumstance. It would be a real crap thing for Tom Brady to do to put him in that position.
It would be.
But if he's going to say, hey, I'm coming back, but I don't want to play here, get something out of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
At least make him buy all the soda for the locker room.
He has to pay for team dinners for the next year.
That's right.
Yeah, something. Mike Williams of the LA Chargers just signed a new contract. He was purportedly going to get a franchise tag.
Yeah.
But they don't need to because they re-signed him now for 3 years, which is worth about $60 million. $40 million is guaranteed. So regardless of what he does, even if he breaks his ankle on the first play of practice, he's going to get $40 million. So there's that. But it's a good option for Justin Herbert because you still have Keenan Allen on the other side, and this is a good wide receiver combo that they have going on. Yeah. So I mean, Herbert's in good shape if they can find a defense that can get him the ball back. They're short one or two defensive players, and maybe another offensive lineman. But other than that, I think just the defense. If the defense can get better, they'll be a much better team. Their defense wasn't stellar; they couldn't stop the run last year, so. That's your LA Charger minute, for what it's worth.
LA Charger minutes.
LA
Gosh,
Charger.
they need to do better next year.
Yeah, I agree. They were close to being really good. Just anyway. Carolina Panthers. Here's another interesting story. The Carolina Panthers are listening to trade offers for Christian McCaffrey.
I would.
But say out loud that they aren't shopping him. But to me, if you're saying out loud that you're willing to listen to trade offers, isn't that shopping him? I don't know. It's semantics, I guess. But hey, I'm not saying no, but I'm not actively looking to get rid of him. But if you call me, I'll listen to you.
What you're saying there is that you're willing to start shopping him.
Okay.
Because shopping's an active process, right?
Right.
You're actually checking. You're seeking out things.
Right.
That's what when you go shopping, you're seeking it out. Right now, they're not seeking it out. But if people want to come to me and throw something my way, I'll hear it.
Right.
But it doesn't mean I'm gonna do anything about it.
What you're saying is I don't need anything from Walmart, but if Walmart comes to my house and starts throwing groceries at me, I'm willing to listen to what they have.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's weird, but it's a weird phrasing, is all it is. I feel like if you're willing to listen to someone's trade offer, then you are actively in the process of thinking about trading him. Okay. Well,
Pete Carroll also said that the Seahawks had no intentions of trading Russell Wilson.
Well,
he said that a week ago.
Yeah.
And the report comes out that they've been talking to the Broncos for 2 weeks.
I just feel like he wasn't involved.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Uncle Pete probably just wasn't involved.
Or he didn't remember. I don't know. He is like 70-something.
He didn't remember. That guy's in really good shape, by the way, for being 70. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
The amount of steps he walks and the energy on the sideline.
Yeah, he has access to a lot of facilities.
He does. I mean, Bruce Arians has the same access, but never mind.
Bruce Arians has been hurt the last 2 years.
He's been an injured reserve.
He had a heart attack a couple years
right?
ago. And
That's what I'm saying. He could cut some weight off and maybe prolong the whatever. I'm just saying. He's not doing that. All right. So Christian McCaffrey is on the block. If you're listening, NFL teams, He would be a tremendous. He's a tremendous guy when he's healthy. He's absolutely one of the best players, all-purpose players in the NFL.
Yeah, he just hasn't been able to stay healthy
He
at
just
all.
you might get 5 or 6 games out
Which
of him.
was always the concern
Right.
with him originally. When he came into the league, you were like, oh, he's a little undersized. Is he going to be able to take all these hits and stuff? And then he had that first year where he did great, and then the second year he came back all bulked up. He had that big like coming out party where he was like gained like 30 pounds of muscle, and then he started getting hurt.
And I don't think it's
He
all.
needs to go back to being skinny Christian McCaffrey.
I don't think it's all about his size. I think it has to do with the amount of touches he gets and the amount of hits that he takes. So because he touches the ball all the time for Carolina because they got nothing else. So, I mean,
Sure.
if he was on a team, okay, here's an example. If he was on a team like the Chargers, right?
Yeah.
He's going to take less hits. Why? Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. There's other players. He can be that guy, that extra wideout or slot receiver. He could be that extra running back in the backfield. He can be that extra kick returner without taking nearly as many hits. Now, he's not going to get as many touches, but that might help his career, prolong it a little bit. That's all I'm saying. So maybe he just is in the wrong place because Carolina doesn't got anything. So
yeah, he's used on 64.5% of the plays he's in on.
that's ridiculous. That's a lot.
It's quite a bit.
It's quite a bit.
But either way, you got to be able to stay healthy in this league.
Let's talk about the bad news, and that's Calvin Ridley's been suspended by the NFL for at least the entire 2022 season for betting on NFL games. NFL suspensions are weird in that it doesn't seem like they're all the same. It doesn't seem like it's a uniform distribution of punishment to me.
Right.
However, to be fair, in the past, it seems like a season-long suspension for betting on games seems long to me.
Seems unnecessarily long, yeah.
However, I will tell you this. Art Schleister, back in 1983, was suspended for a season for betting on NFL games, a whole season. Alex Karras, Paul Hornung, back in 1963, were suspended for an entire season for betting on football. And there's one more, and I can't remember who it was. Anyway, there's like 3 different instances of this happening in the past, and they all were suspended for an entire season. So it is uniform in that sense. However, there are other punishments that weren't nearly as bad. Some other people have been suspended for the same amount of time, or even, 10 games. Oh, well, it was shortened after 1 game. It was appealed, and they were reinstated. That kind of thing. And this may happen too. He may do that. He may appeal it and say, but the tradition of 1 season for betting is apparently a thing. I didn't realize until I looked into it.
Yeah, but you're giving him the same penalty that you gave Schleister,
and
who bet his $350,000 signing bonus by midseason.
Immediately. Yeah, it immediately was better.
Gone.
I know.
Yeah, like he
I know, but also
it's hard to justify it, especially now when you can bet from your phone real fast and things like that. It's very different.
You're also giving him the same length of punishment as you gave Adam Pac-Man Jones for attacking a stripper and threatening a security guard's life in 2007.
Yeah.
Those are the same punishment. I
Definitely
feel like
a little inconsistent.
Plaxico Burress also received a full season.
And he bet on his own team to win.
It's true.
Which is a little redeeming.
Michael Vick had that indefinite suspension. It only ended up being 2 years for the dogfighting thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's just been a number. Ray Caruth murdered someone, and he got suspended originally for 1 season, but eventually you go to jail. You kind of can't play. So
makes it hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it hard. Anyway, I don't know if the penalty was appropriate, but it was appropriate in terms of other betting scandals, quote unquote, other than Pete Rose, who's now can't be in the Hall of Fame. But his is the reason is not for betting, is what the Major League Baseball will tell you. The reason is because he tax return, income tax evasion.
It's a problem that the problem that I have is that with that argument is that something that happened in 1960, something that happened in 1970, 1980, and something that happens in 2020 are very different things, like in terms of their impact. So, and and what it means to your to life and life around you. I think the punishments need to adjust. Everything else in the world adjusts. Why don't the punishments?
And what you're saying is absolutely true. The technology makes it easier to bet now than it would have been in 1983 or 1963, right? Where you had to actively go seek out a bookie.
You had to go find a
Yeah,
guy who was doing some shady crap
Right.
next to the horse track.
I mean, you got to know a guy.
Yeah.
But anyway,
And that's how you did that.
but
Yeah,
but
that's what allowed the mob to run rampant.
here's the bigger question, and we probably won't have time to get into it right now. But is the NFL setting itself up for this by aligning itself with people like DraftKings and other MGM betting and all those places? I mean, you've
Setting
taken them
themselves
on
up
as
for what?
sponsors, setting themselves up for more betting by players on things.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
Oh, all right.
Of course.
There you go.
If they're not already doing it.
Yeah, and they probably are. They just aren't getting. They aren't stupid enough to get caught. I mean,
or they're just not betting on NFL games, but
right?
Basketball fights, things like that. Just
right.
Not the NFL games.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk more about betting at some point. We'll have to get into a little bit more about that. NFL Combine was this last week. Speed was the name of the NFL Combine. Am I wrong in that? There were guys running fast, and it was 31 players
all over the place.
31 players ran better than 4.4.
Yeah.
What? To include 3 different guys from Baylor. Just saying, there were 3 guys from Baylor that were better than 4.4. There were 8 wide receivers, 15 defensive backs, 6 running backs, and 1 Amari Barno, 6'5", 246-pound edge rusher from Virginia Tech that ran a 4.36. Which wasn't even the biggest news because it was Trayvon Walker, or Jordan Davis from Georgia. Jordan Davis, 6'6", 341. He ran 4.78. What? It's an offensive lineman that is 341 pounds. You're on a 4.78.
Very impressive.
That is amazing.
It's a big dude moving real fast.
And Trayvon Walker from Georgia, 6'5" defensive end. I forgot his weight on here. I want to say it's 270 something. He ran a 4.51. Good night. I mean, this is it's game changing in the way that the speed is going, because the NFL is already fast, but it's just getting faster.
Yeah. Now, because kids are training from 5 years old to be in the league. So yeah, if you put in the effort, you can get there.
And I don't know if any of those kids can catch or hit or tackle, but they can run fast. So
that's helpful for chasing people down.
It is. It absolutely is. So I guess we'll find out. It's going to be interesting if this is the trend, or if this is an outlier year that has just extra people that are fast. I mean, I don't know, but I think it's just the NFL's getting faster. So
yeah,
faster guys that are big. A guy that can run a 4.78 that's 341 pounds and is going to hit you will hurt you.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. So anyway, something to look at, something to watch. I don't know. Did you watch any of the combine or
no?
Just highlights?
I didn't have any time. Just highlights.
Yeah.
And all those highlights were just speed highlights.
Speed highlights. That's all I saw from it. Was speed. Yeah.
There was nothing else that was significant that happened.
Right. Yeah. I didn't see anything that was exciting either. So let's talk about the Major League Baseball news. Big Major League Baseball news. On Sunday, the Major League Baseball Players Association presented a new proposal for a collective bargaining agreement to the MLB. And MLB promptly said that the proposal was, quote, not designed to move the process forward. And they accused the union of moving backward on some of the topics. So the question I guess I have, which is not really big news, that there's still a lockout. I just thought it's a teaser. It's called a teaser. Anyway, how does this end? Is it going to end? Are they going to just be angry at each other? Because it's going to get angrier before they get better at some point in time. And sooner or later, they'll all realize that they need to play baseball, and they'll figure it out. But in the meantime, they're just going to get angry at each other. And how do we prevent this from happening in the future is the question. Is there any way that, I mean, because your CBAs always expire, and you're always going to want to renegotiate everything. I don't know how they fix it. So do you have a suggestion? I'm just asking.
No, it's always going to change. It's always going to keep evolving. Every single year, there's going to be something new that the players are upset about, and that they want included in their CBA. So after so many years, because the CBA lasts for a while, it all just piles up, and then they all come back with all their complaints. If it was something more flexible, where on a year-by-year basis they could kind of change and adjust, you'd probably never have this issue. But there have been lockouts before. There is a lockout now. It is what it is. It's the way the NBA. It's not the NBA. The way the MLB is designed. is to have this every couple of years, have this dogfight over salaries and rules and things like that. So I don't know. Is what it is. And I'm so sick of people. I don't like Rob Manfred, but I'm so sick of everyone blaming this on Rob Manfred.
Right.
This is not entirely his fault. There's blame to go around equally.
Sure.
So people got to get over that a little bit.
And he's not the face of the owners. You know what I mean? He is the face of baseball because he's the commissioner.
Yeah.
But he's not the guy making those decisions. The owner group is what's making those decisions and giving him the information, and he's passing it on. You're shooting the messenger if you're blaming him. And I mean, he may get a vote in their say, but it's not the deciding vote. He's not the guy saying, "Oh, this is what we're doing."
Yeah.
So you can blame owners. That's absolutely correct. But you can blame owners or you can blame players, and one or the other.
The owners don't want to pay anymore. They don't want to concede, and the players don't want to be undervalued.
Right.
Which they're not.
No,
they make a lot of money to play a springtime game.
They do.
More than people say that about football. Like, oh, they get paid a lot of money to play a game. It's like, yeah, a game where you slam bodies into one another and and attempt to cause physical harm. I've watched a center fielder not do anything all game.
Right.
And for an entire game, for a 4-hour game, not do a thing except for come up to the plate and bat. And I've watched that guy strike out 4 times.
Yeah.
So that guy's making a lot of money.
The football players are definitely taking a much bigger risk with their body and their future every time they go out on the field.
I would say every other sport except for pitchers. Pitchers being the exception to baseball because they have to do something ungodly, like contortion. It's not natural. It's permanent damage. It's not good.
It's a weird motion.
But when when it's aggregated amongst all the other players on the field,
right?
It's not much physical. Even soccer, which isn't necessarily known for a ton of contact, they're constantly running.
Yeah,
that puts you at risk for ACL and MCL and ankle stuff. Just based on that principle.
And changing direction.
Yeah.
I mean, that the minute you change direction, that's when you tear things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Tennis is a dramatically more, what's it called? Physical sport.
Right.
I would think, but yeah. But so yeah, that's a side tangent.
I would say the one sport you don't see, golf. You don't see a whole lot of golf injuries. They happen. Don't get me wrong. They do happen, but they're rare.
They're slow developing. They're like
it's chronic.
You develop a back problem, or you develop a shoulder problem from years of hunching over on your chips and things like that.
You don't see a guy tear his ACL playing golf.
No,
that's not going to happen.
Well, they never get past a brisk walk
unless it's a celebration.
Yeah,
if it's I've seen some injuries on celebrations, which
the biggest threat on a golf course is getting hit by a golf ball.
Probably. That's probably true.
So and that's more if you're a fan than if you're a player.
Or an alligator,
or an alligator attack.
Random wild animal attack.
Yeah, actually that's probably a pretty big. It doesn't happen that often. I'm sure they walk the course and clear the gators off. That's such a ridiculous thing that has to happen.
You can't really clear a gator. I mean, you can scare them away, but they're gonna come back if they want to.
Just imagine that. It's like, all right, we're gonna hold this big old event here, and it's like, all right, we'll send out the grounds crew in the morning to clear off the dinosaurs, and. We'll play in the afternoon. They'll come back out in the evening. We'll do it again tomorrow.
We have to get the pterodactyls out the trees before we can do this. Yeah, otherwise they're just gonna snatch them up. Yeah, I don't know. And lastly today, because why not? Where am I? The Stanley Cup playoffs. The NHL has redesigned the Stanley Cup playoffs logo. This is last year's logo.
Okay.
And this is this year's logo.
I feel like they kind of went backwards.
I don't.
This logo looks older.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's what they were saying was that the logo itself is more photorealistic. It's a more photorealistic depiction of the cup than last year's logo. I'll go back so you can see last year's. Yeah, see how it's just kind of,
absolutely.
So it does look more real. Okay, and I'm like, is that a thing? Were people upset about that? Okay, and then secondly, the fonts that they used are paying homage to the font used by the first Stanley Cup champion, that where it says Stanley Cup right there at the top,
Yeah.
that's a font used by the. Dang it! I had this story and now I've lost it. Anyway, it's one of the fonts used on the cup, and it's like the
That's what I would think you
first
were saying.
champion. So they're using that font, and then the second font where it says playoffs is a font from the hotel where the NHL was organized originally in 19 whatever. So it was a Windsor hotel somewhere in Canada, and so these are the two fonts they're using, which is great. It's historic, I get it, but the whole thing, I'm sitting here going, okay, this was the old one, which actually looks more dynamic. Does it not?
It does look action.
Yeah,
It's
it has
got an action theme to it.
because it's got the slant to the letters, and it's got, it looks like it's moving, and it's got brighter.
Fast.
It's got the glare, right? It's got the two-tone, the top and the bottom, or anyway, whatever. And then this one just looks flat to me. But
this one looks more classic.
It is a classic look. You're right.
But it's not exciting.
Here's the question: why?
Why not?
I mean, that's one of the answers. That's just as good an answer.
You are literally talking about it. You literally have an opinion on it, and that's why.
I know I don't have an opinion on it. I don't care which one of
buzz.
these it is. It doesn't make any difference. The question
That's your opinion.
why?
You don't care, but
Why?
So all right.
Is it gonna sell more tickets?
No.
Is it?
If you really didn't care about something, you really don't think about something. I mean, really don't think about something. Like, I have no clue what kind of car my neighbor who lives 4 doors down owns, because I don't care. All right. And now I'm thinking about it, and I can't think of what it is. I don't know what it is. All right. If I cared at all, I would have gone like, oh, look at that, they got a blue Taurus. And then even if it's just even if it's just like a comment on it, like, oh yeah, there it is, then I would remember that or something like that. So the fact that you have any sort of say on it means that you have some kind of feeling towards it, even if that feeling is like, it's meh.
I feel like if it was a blue Taurus, you would be disappointed now, because
Well,
you've
it's all
already
the
brought
guy
it up,
that-
and
They say geniuses pick blue.
I feel like I feel like now at this point, if it's not something exotic, you're going to be upset, because right?
Yeah.
It obviously wouldn't be on your mind ever again if it.
Well, now I got it.
Now you're going to need
put
to
it
know.
out here. So now I do have at least a
Vested
concern.
interest,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You have to know now. But anyway, I looked at it and I went, is this for ticket sales? Is it for branding purposes?
It's for branding purposes.
I get it.
It's not for ticket sales.
But what is it going to do for you that the old one didn't? Nothing.
People do branding changes all the time.
Sure. I just don't understand it. You didn't change the NHL logo, just the playoff logo. All right. Oh, okay. I just find it weird. That's all. It's an interesting announcement to make, and that'll get them teams that want to be in the playoffs now.
I feel like it doesn't matter. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like,
It doesn't.
Did it, but
it doesn't matter, and that's what I do here. Is I bring up shit that doesn't matter. So that's
So
the whole
sometimes,
point.
sometimes.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, I just think that they were tired of looking at the old ones. So somebody's
Maybe.
like, you know what? We should
Yeah.
change that crap.
When was
And
the
I'm
last
like,
time we
yeah,
changed this?
Get
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, exactly. Some advertising company somewhere is earning their money now. Is what happened because they.
But you know what? There's gonna be people, diehard hockey fans, who are going to love this change.
And there's
We're
going to be some that are going to hate
that's
it.
really cool. Oh yeah, there's gonna be
Yeah.
some that are gonna hate it. We're like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with the old one?
Right.
And then there's people who are gonna be like, oh, I like the font thing. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's a heritage thing. And yeah, so
Yeah.
there are people who are really gonna love it. And I think for most people, it's gonna go,
Yeah. It's exactly what I said when I saw it. I went, meh. We better talk about it because it's meh.
good for you guys.
And
And then when you tell the story about the fonts, you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what happened. As I looked at the logos and I went, what's the difference? And I was okay. And then I read the story and I was like, oh, all right. It's nice that you have the you're paying tribute. I get it. What was why did you pick the old one? When you changed to the old logo from the older
What was
logo?
it before?
What was it before? Yeah, and I don't even have that up. But I was like, what was it before this? Because I don't remember that it changed originally, but it must have, right, at some point in time. And that
It had
wasn't to me a big deal. But I mean, now that we're doing a show and we have time to talk about nothing but this, yeah, it's fun. Anyway,
it used to be pretty great. So it's looked kind of the way it's looked since 07, 08.
okay.
That's
Well,
when
I guess
that's
that's
when they
long
went
enough.
to the kind of front face and slant, and they kind of did that.
15 years long enough.
There's actually a website called sportslogos.net, and it shows
Yes,
you
where I
every
pulled this
Stanley
from.
Cup logo since 1988.
That's where I pulled this from, but I didn't pull the two back. I just pulled the last year's to figure out what the change
Yeah.
was. So
Yeah, it's pretty much been the same
yeah,
it's been the same for a while now.
awesome.
But it was blue in the background of where of by where the NHL logo is, and then they changed it to black, and then it was that black Stanley Cup playoff logo, the same logo from 2012 2021.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
for a while it's been the same.
All right, now in a segment that we like to call "Your Mother Thinks I Talk Too Much," Parker is going to talk about something for a minute. You got something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Here and here you go.
So we're gonna talk about the doing good deeds at the draft. So Liberty quarterback Malik Willis and Brown quarterback EJ Perry were both caught on camera doing nice things. EJ Perry was cleaning up the benches after the combine, which was a long day for him. He was there for like 12 hours or something like that. And Liberty quarterback Malik Willis was filmed on the street giving a homeless person, I'm not gonna say they're homeless, but giving a person on the street
Mm-hmm.
who looked homeless a bunch of clothes. Like he unzipped his carry-on bag
Yeah.
and was giving her like packaged clothes. It looks like like free stuff he got. So the question that I have for you is that, do you have a problem with the good deeds that are happening, even if it seems kind of like they might be happening for the camera?
I guess I don't have a problem with the good deeds if the intent is good. If the intent is to boost your draft stock, then yeah, that's stupid. Because if it was something you would have done anyway, okay, then that's great. That goes to your character, and that's what we should be talking about. But if it's not, if it's something you wouldn't have done, then you know, I don't know. I would have been more impressed had he given away his own stuff to someone on the street as opposed to stuff he just got for free. But
Yeah.
but it's still a nice gesture, provided it's sincere and not just trying to make him get more money. You know what I mean? Because the whole intent of coming to the combine and doing this is to try and improve your draft stock so you can make more money.
Right.
There's no other reason. You're probably going to get drafted anyway. So, but the higher you get drafted, the more money you make. So that's what they're doing, and I don't like that idea. But if it's totally done out of the goodness of your heart, Sebastian Vettel stays and cleans up F1 stands.
Yeah.
After F1 races, so that's a thing. He doesn't need the money. He's doing that strictly out of the goodness of his heart. And I'm wondering if people just don't see things like that and say, "Oh, it's more of a copycat thing," or whether it's a good idea and they're thinking, "Oh, this is a good idea. I could be helpful this way," or whether it's just because this would be good optics. That's the question, and I don't know which one it is. So I can't really say how bad I feel about it until I know why you're doing it.
Well, see, my thing is, to the homeless person,
Yeah.
does it matter?
No, it does not.
Does it matter to them why you gave them stuff, if you
Not
were
at
being
all.
filmed or not? It's one thing if they turn off the camera and he tries to take all the stuff back.
We didn't see that part.
to the workers over at Lucas Oil,
It's helpful, yeah.
Does it matter why he was cleaning up the trash?
It won't matter
So
to those people, though.
I think in terms of those impacted, it has no bearing. It doesn't matter if you're doing it for the camera or not. Who gives a crap? You're doing it.
It is a positive impact. You're right.
And if you do it enough, it'll be if you do enough positive things, I think it kind of develops in you to keep doing positive things.
Yeah. And so the question,
that's a good start.
I guess the question is, are you going to continue to do things like that, or is this just a one-time thing? Because if this is just a one-time thing, then we'll know that the reason it was because cameras are on you and you have an opportunity to, be seen doing something good. If this is something you do all the time and it becomes no news eventually, because you do it all the time, that's good. That's the way it should be.
Yeah. I didn't mind it. I thought that EJ or Malik Willis, I didn't think his was staged because it was filmed from like a restaurant across the street. Like somebody was sitting there like eating lunch with their friend and was like, "Hey, look at that."
Yeah.
And but the EJ Perry one, the Brown quarterback, that one looked a little more like his buddy was following him around with a camera.
Right.
So I don't know, tough to say, but either way, if it helps somebody else out, even if it is for kind of selfish reasons, it still helps somebody out. I think is kind of my thought on it.
Right.
So just keep doing it.
Yeah, just keep doing it. If you're going to do it, then yeah, we're good with it.
If everybody from the combine did something nice, it'd be a lot better place.
Right? It would be. The whole world would be a lot better place. So the Best Slam Sports Show trivia question is brought to you by Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. The winery at the Vineyard, 3827 Fletcher Drive, open 7 days a week from 12 to 6 for indoor and patio dining. The downtown tasting room open 12 to 6 Thursday through Sunday. Call them at 541. Oh, that phone number, by the way, for the downtown tasting room, 541-490-9461. The number out at the Vineyard is 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. Call them, make a reservation, right? Go online. info@stavenstone.com is the email address. You can go online to stavenstone.com and make a reservation there. Stavenstone was voted winner of the 2021 Best Local Winery category in the Best of the Gorge Awards. So,
Yeah.
so there you go. So award-winning wines. Stavenstone Wine Estates, wines with personality. So what was the trivia question? Do you remember?
Yeah, 3 teams tied for the worst record to get into the NCAA tournament. They happened in consecutive years.
They did.
Who were those 3 teams, or
Got it.
what years did they happen?
Any guesses as to who this might be?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw out first. I'm gonna
Okay.
throw out Austin P.
Oh, nice. That's an excellent guess.
Just a wild shot in the dark.
Out of the Ohio Valley Conference, yeah.
And then I'm gonna throw out. Let's go with like a Green Bay.
Okay. Yeah. Like
Yeah. That's a weird one that. Yeah. In that same vein, let's actually go with San Francisco also.
USF.
Yeah,
Yes,
USF.
the
Yeah,
Dons.
because those are weird ones that could pop out of there.
Those are weird ones.
Well, so I'm trying to think of like weird conferences, and honestly, I don't know all the conferences, but I know a couple teams that I'm like. So that's why like Green Bay, I think, and San Francisco are in the same conference.
Uh-huh.
So when I said Green Bay, I was like, oh, and also this team.
So,
But
all right, you ready? Those are all great guesses, and they're all wrong.
yeah, I kind of figured.
Florida International University, the Panthers, in 1995.
FIU.
FIU. The 1996 University of Central Florida Knights.
UCF. I was
And-
close.
And the 1997 Fairfield. Oh, shit, I forgot what they are. The Stags? I think that's what they're called. They were all 11 and 18.
You know, I had the name Fairfield in my head,
Yeah.
but I was not
They were all
looking that way.
They were all 11 and 18. Florida International and UCF both came out of the Atlantic Sun. That's that same conference we talked about earlier. That
The
is
ASUN.
Jacksonville State is
Yeah.
the representative now, and
Oh, I should have known when you brought them up that
right.
there might be some tie to the trivia question.
And right, see, there's always a tie-in if you just look hard enough. There's always something. Anyway, and then Fairfield is from the MAAC, the MAAC, the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, not the Mid American. But the MAAC. It's too good.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, those are the worst teams to ever make it into a team. And the one thing I didn't look up, and I should have as a bonus question, was what's the team with the worst record to ever win an NCAA tournament game?
Ooh.
Which is an interesting question in itself, and I never looked it up, but we could probably do it right now.
Yeah. I'm looking it up right now. I'm
Okay,
working on it.
Perfect. Because I didn't look it up, and now that I've said that,
Villanova.
what was their record?
1991. Wildcats entered the tournament 16-14, having lost to Seton Hall in the Big East semifinal. I don't know who they beat though.
It doesn't really matter, but
Yeah.
16 and 14. That's a pretty bad record.
16-14, and they hopped in the tournament and said, "We'll take a win real quick."
Yeah, right? Okay, interesting. Good stuff. I like
Yeah.
it.
Now you know. No exact the battle.
No, it's exactly correct. I think that
I beat you to that.
yeah, I was gonna say something of that nature, but it's all good. So yeah, there you go. Stavenstone, Best in Sports Show trivia question brought to you by Stavenstone. It's long. I can't come up with another.
Call it the Stavenstone trivia question.
I want to do that, but our trivia question sponsored.
But
I've been
so
thinking
the problem is you're confusing. People don't need to know that it's the best land sports show trivia question. They know it's the best land sports show. They know it's our trivia question. Like,
Do they?
I think so. I would just call it the Stavenstone trivia question.
Okay. I mean, we could do that too.
Give it a whirl. See how it sounds.
All right, we're gonna play the funky beats.
All funky beats. By the way, they beat Princeton.
Oh, nice.
Princeton, 50-48. They lost to UNC in the tournament.
That's awesome. That's good. That's good stuff.
19.
Yeah, they got a lot of credit. Well, they were playing back in the Big East when they were in the
Yeah.
Big East, and it was the Big East was the big deal for a while. So, all right, that's all we have for today. We're going to be back next week, Thursday. Is it Thursday we decided on, or Friday?
Thursday, I think.
Okay, we're going to try and do a show on Thursday. It'll have to be Thursday. But Thursday, March 17th, we're going to have NBA, the NHL, the NCAA basketball, March Madness. We'll have our brackets so you guys can know what a winning bracket looks like. And then we'll cover MLS soccer, probably more time. And whatever other NFL news come up between now and then, we'll cover that too for you. So there's probably, now that dominoes have started falling, more dominoes will fall ahead of the draft, I promise. Because people are going to be now scrambling to get quarterbacks, and 2 of them are long. Anyway, again, we're streaming on YouTube every week. We're on Twitter at Lance Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lane Sports Show. You can email us lancesports@gmail.com. I want to thank ESPN, the NFL, Fox Sports, NBA, MLS, NBC, CBS Sports, and of course our sponsors, the Range and Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, and Stablestone Wednesday Food and River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media LLC. Thanks for listening. I can't talk. It's been a whole day. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.